need to go in there and get their heads knocked off if they need to. Okay? The kids, like I said, you mentioned, Giuseppe and Kako and all that stuff. Those guys will be there, okay, if they need them. They're kind of getting their legs. They're doing all right. Those other guys got to start. They got to change the game plan, and they got to make Mrazek's life absolutely miserable. That's what they have to do. They have to make the Canes, defensive core just tire them out and work them, and just they got to change the game plan. You got the talent. You got the skill. But those guys got to get in there, and they got to get inside, and they got to get in the middle. Because that, to me, I'm going to disagree with you. You got nothing to lose putting Kratz over. Look, as far as him replacing one of the other two guys on the third or fourth line, that doesn't matter to me. These guys, Quinn's got to run those top six guys, and he's got to run them. I mean, Hedl himself, man, is just. I think you got to move him up. He just looked good. He was flying. He's just a guy that can score, man. They need speed up there, and I think Hedl can go in the middle too. And Bucci's got to be in there too, man. He's a big guy. That's number one. And number two is, when Hank and Shesty weren't there, I mean, Georgiev's come in and just plugged the dam. I got to ask a question, and I didn't see it, and anybody's listening to the show, you can hit me up on Twitter or whatever and bash me for it or whatever, but why did Hank get the spot over Georgiev? That's what I want to know. Because anytime that kid has been plugged in, he's done nothing but lights out for the Rangers. And I know Hank's the guy, and to me, I just think it would have been a different situation. If you're going to play the goalie game, what if, Shesty played, or what if, Hank played better? He's the experienced guy. He played great against the Canes during the season and all that other stuff. But if I look back at whenever Georgie Boy has stepped in, man, he's helped those guys turn things around. He's got incredible form, man. He's smart. He's cut through the same cloth as Shesty, those Russian goaltenders. He's just incredibly disciplined, trained. He's got incredible flexibility. He's definitely got more than Hank these days. And he's a stand-up guy, and he's a bigger guy. And to me, that would be one of the two things. So what's your take on how Quinn's got to run these guys in the top six, which I was just saying? And do you go with Georgie tomorrow if Shesty can't play?
I think you're out of your mind thinking that Georgiev was ever going to play over Lundqvist in the first two games. It was never going to happen. I know you have your man crush on whether it's a mistake or not. And again, I don't think that Lundqvist is anywhere near the top of the reasons that they're down 0-2. And again, he didn't help today. But I just, with his playoff pedigree, there's no way they were going Georgiev over him. They just weren't doing it. And from, again, the playoff pedigree standpoint, and even from a PR standpoint, which, is the worst reason to make any type of hockey decision or personnel decision in sports. But it was just never going to happen. Now, having said that, Hank had the first two games and he lost. So now I think you have to look in a different direction. I thought, and again, he gave two soft goals today, and I think Quinn is justified looking at Georgiev if Shesterkin isn't ready. So hopefully Shesterkin is ready. If not, I think you go with Georgiev. I do. And just to shake things up, we've seen Hank in goal for the Rangers for however many years at this point. And for some reason or another, this team just never plays well in front of this guy. And they seem to, whether it's Cam Talbot or Ranta or Shesterkin or Georgiev, it seems like the defense always tightens up in front of them more than do in front of Lundqvist. So
and that's something that the coaches should have in their notes. And I'm telling you, get Georgie in there tomorrow night, and I tell you what, he takes them all the way. 3 straight. If Shesty's not 100%, you don't even mess with it. Get him in there tomorrow night. And then, if anything, you put Shesty on the bench or Hank on the bench or whatever. And if Georgie blows a gasket or whatever, then you put those guys in. I'm telling you right now, I think Georgie's he's the best chance. Put that guy in tomorrow night. Just the way he carried himself, he did it with them this season. He helped them out. Whenever Hank and I know Shesty was towards the end there, but they put Georgie in, and Georgie, he clogged the dam, man. And I think he's perfect for this right now. And I know I'm a big Georgie fan, and I'm going to stick with him. I really feel. And if that's the you got nothing to lose thing, put Georgie in tomorrow. He'll be sharp. He'll be big. He'll be tough. He'll stand up. He's just that way. And I think, like I said, you got to mix it up. I think that's where you mix it up. This is just my take. Put Georgie in there, and those guys better run through the wall tomorrow night up in Mrazek's face. And just bomb him. Bomb the hell out of him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. And, normally I give you a hard time about Georgiev. I do. I think if Shesterkin is still not ready to play, whatever that means, I don't know what the injury was or whatever it is, I think Georgiev has to be in there. As far as, our top guys go, yes, I think Panarin should play like 30 minutes tomorrow. And Zibanejad and Kreider.
Absolutely,
and,
yes.
And they're, just play them until they can't skate anymore. And, yeah, I think that the second line should probably be Panarin, Kakko, and Hedl. And go with them. And see what happens. Because Hedl and Kakko have been better than Strome or Howden or whoever else you want to pick. Just Di Giuseppe. Essentially play like a 3-line game tomorrow. Mostly leaning on the top six and see where it goes. Your top guys got you where you were and got you in this position. You might as well lean on them here because there's no tomorrow. So
yeah, and the other thing is they win tomorrow night. They get a day off, so burn them tomorrow night. I mean, obviously, it's an elimination game, so blah blah blah. It's, Captain Obvious here. But
yeah, and I mentioned just putting Kravtsov in is just maybe maybe it gets the team going. It's a a reality check for these guys or a gut check, whatever you want to call it. Where wow, they're putting this guy in. Maybe the coach doesn't have faith in us. So I got to step it up, that kind of thing. Just to shake things up because it's just not working right now. It's just. You're watching our top guys, and it's just not happening for them out there. And, I think you do have to give Carolina credit, and maybe they're just the better team. It's always hard to admit that the other team is better, and maybe that's just the case. And kudos to them, and they're the better team. But I think that if Quinn just goes in with the same lineup, and let's go with Lundqvist again, and we'll just plug in Lemieux and take Fogarty out. And, I'm looking for a little bit of a spark here. Maybe Kravtsov provides that. Maybe Georgiev provides that. I think when you have your back up against the wall, you do things, like that. Panic move, whatever you want to call it. I'd like to see it done. Plus, what does it hurt? Kravtsov is a guy you expect to be part of the future, so get him in there.
Another big reason, Kevin, I'm with you on Kravtsov going into too is he's got better offensive skills. So they need goals.
Yeah, that's where the problem is.
Yeah, exactly. Put him in.
I'm with you. Sorry, I was taking a drink of my beer.
I'm almost 2 in already.
As I'm trying to get over everything going on. Can you believe that Cespedes just left the Mets, by the
way? Do not taint our Rangers podcast with those filthy Mets, all right?
Sorry.
Buddy,
it's been a bad couple of days sports-wise for me.
I tell all my Mets buddies, cousins, family, come to the dark side already. Get over. Put on the white and the black. All right? I mean, Mets fans, Jets fans, come on already. Get out of it.
Not happening.
Life's too short. Well, look, man, the team's got the talent. I'm going to be positive going into this game tomorrow night. Just win the game. They've got the guys to do it. I think the system needs to be changed. And Quinn's, look, He gets to that post-game press conference tomorrow night. If they lose, and they lose, as long as they go down, they got to play smart hockey, obviously. And the power play to me is I just don't get it. With that kind of talent up front, I just don't understand. But if we see a team tomorrow night that just lets it all out, play that freestyle hockey, and just, like I said, it's fundamental stuff, really, KD, when it all comes down to it. You know, I mean, you brought it up right away at the beginning. You know, the ugly hockey, and just you got to create trouble for the goaltender, and you got to get in there, and you got to let bombs go. And, you know, Carolina's good. Look, Brind'Amour is that kind of a player. I mean, look, you know, just in terms of, you know, Carolina winning the face-off draws, you know, possession, you know, the outside game. You know, Brind'Amour is that guy. I mean, he was just an incredible sentiment throughout his career, and you know, defensive player as well, too, in terms of defensive forward and everything else. And the guy, like I said, he's scored some big goals throughout his career as well, too. But, I mean, you can see that coming down to that Carolina team. But they're beatable, man. They're definitely beatable. And I think we just gotta see that game. We got to see that team, that Ranger team that, you know, beat Dallas, played a pretty damn good game against a great Colorado team there at the end. Those last couple of games, the games against the Islanders. I mean, I don't know if you watched a little of the Islander game the other day, but, you know, the other thing, too, is I'm watching this team, and I'm going, there's no way they're beating anybody else in this tournament. You know? It's like, you talk about Carolina or whatever, but, you know, they've got to change everything. Because this talk about, you know, why not us and all that other stuff, I mean, you can see a lot of chinks in the Ranger armor here. They're not going to beat anybody. They're not going to beat Columbus. They're not going to beat Boston. They're not going to beat Washington. They'll get crushed, you know. But they've got to find that the way they were playing the last few weeks of the season. They've got to find that, and they were doing that. Yes, with great goaltending. There's no doubt about it. They were still giving up a ton of shots back then, and it was basically being handled by Shesty and Georgiev. And I love Hank. I love him, but. And it's not his fault, really. I'm just frustrated with it's like, man, this is the team that we were angry about, you know, before they turned it around and went on, you know, the run and got back into it and got everybody excited about, you know, the team making the playoffs and everything else. And I've watched a couple of the games, and you see some of the highlights from other series, and some teams have made adjustments, and, you know, other teams have struggled too. You know, Toronto struggling, and you know, a couple of the games, Chicago, you know, roughed up Edmonton a little bit there the other night. I mean, I'm just. This is not the team that I wanted to see. I don't think anybody wanted to see. I don't think anybody expected to see. And ha on us. Doesn't matter who goes in net. You know, this team is young. It's fast. It's, you know, Panarin, and they're just not doing it. So.
Yeah,
I hope Quinn finds the answers, man. I really do. I'm confident that he will, and hopefully we see it tomorrow night. That's all we got.
Yeah, I don't think we were ready for, you know, our top guys to not show up. You know, the guys that have carried us all year, the Panarin and Zibanejad and Kreider and Strome and these guys, you know, and Carolina's top players are, you know, outplaying our guys, Aho and Svechnikov, and, you know, these guys are the guys that they rely on, and they're putting the team on their back, and that's what you assume that, you know, Panarin and Zibanejad and Kreider and those guys were going to do, and they just haven't, which has been the more frustrating part of it. D'Angelo, you know, on defense, you know, again, he hasn't been very good on defense this year, but, you know, he's really not doing. He had, you know, the nice assist on the power play goal today, but, you know, other than that, he's just he's been a real disappointment. And, you know, you wonder how this kind of thing, if, you know, even a couple of games in this weird, crazy scenario that we're dealing with, like, makes the Rangers think twice about, you know, we've talked about the contract situations of guys like D'Angelo and Strome, and the organization is looking at those two guys the last couple of games, and depending on what happens tomorrow, and they're like, man, we are not giving these guys long-term contracts now. So,
well, Well,
You
hold
know,
on. Hold on, real. Let me